In fairy tales, the smallest, weakest, or most overlooked characters often become the greatest heroes. Whether they're trapped in a life of hardship or mocked by those in power, the underdog in these stories always seem to find a way to win. But why do we love that so much? And what do these stories actually tell us about power, fairness, and hope? To understand how the underdog trope works in fairy tales, I'll be looking at two of the most famous stories in the genre, Cinderella by Charles Perrault and Jack and the Beanstalk by Joseph Jacobs. Cinderella is typically seen as the most perfect underdog story. It's a tale of a girl mistreated by her stepfamily who remains kind and virtuous despite her hardships. With the help of her fairy godmother, Cinderella transforms from a servant into a princess, proving that goodness, no matter how invincible, will eventually be recognized. Jack and the Beanstalk shows a different kind of underdog story, with a young boy, poor and often thought of as foolish. Jack trades his family's cow for magic beans, which grows into a giant beanstalk, leading him to a land where a giant stores wealth. Despite his humble origins, Jack outsmarts the giant 3 times, stealing his gold and a magical goose before finally chopping down the beanstalk and defeating the giant. His story celebrates cleverness, bravery, and the power of taking risks. In both stories, Cinderella and Jack and the Beanstalk, they showcase the underdog's victory, with the protagonist winning against overwhelming strong odds throughout qualities like kindness, courage, and intelligence. These stories emphasize that victory is possible, even for those who start at the bottom. Which I also think allows me to believe that the underdog trope in fairy tales such as Cinderella and Jack and the Beanstalk supports the idea that perseverance, kindness, or even being smart in situations can help people overcome certain odds and high power structures. In a story told by Charles Perrault, Cinderella is one of the most iconic underdog stories told. Cinderella was nice and kind, but she was forced to live like a servant because of her cruel stepmother and her mean, jealous stepsisters. Even though Cinderella was usually teased or overworked by her stepmother and stepsisters, she never lost her kindness or goodness. It was always rewarded, and she got rewarded when a fairy godmother magically transformed her, sending her to the royal ball. But her true win comes when the prince searches for her, not because of how she looked, but because of the connection they had. The moment the glass slipper fits was perfect. It was a symbol. It shows that no matter how powerless or hidden someone may be, their true self will always be recognized. This symbolizes how kindness and perseverance, no matter how invincible someone may be, they will ultimately be valued. Coming to the end of the story, Cinderella gains a lot. She not only wins love, but freedom and dignity. Her story proves that goodness and perseverance can go above being mean and certain standards. In Joseph Jacobs' version of Jack and the Beanstalk, Jack is a poor boy living with his mother. When he trades their only cow for magic beans, it seems like a foolish mistake, but it changes everything. The beans grow into a giant beanstalk that leads Jack to a castle in the clouds where a giant stores magical treasures. Jack climbs up again, stealing gold coins, a magical harp, and a goose that lays golden eggs. The giant's famous line, "Fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman," adds danger to Jack's journey, but Jack always escapes. He keeps outsmarting someone much bigger and stronger than him. Jack's success wasn't about being strong or having strength, because he was going against someone much bigger than him. It was about being brave, being smart, and having enough courage to challenge a system that was so unfair. Jack, despite his humble beginnings, proves that the underdog through cleverness and courage can defeat the giant. When he finally chops down the beanstalk, Jack, with significance, destroys the powerful giant's kingdom. The story reminds us that even someone poor and underestimated can challenge the power and win. Fairy tale authors and scholars have studied why underdogs appear so often in these stories. Jack Zipes in The Irresistible Fairy Tale explains that underdog tales symbolize the struggles of regular people against high power. They give voice to social hopes and a way for the powerless to imagine justice. Marina Warner, in From the Beast to the Blonde, she focuses on the inside journey. She says fairy tales reward modesty, patience, and endurance, especially in characters like Cinderella. Her survival and ultimate success show that moral strength can matter more than status or beauty. Both Jack Zipes and Maria Warner show that these underdog stories do more than entertain. They reflect on real-world problems and give hope that fairness can win, even when the odds are impossible. In Cinderella and Jack and the Beanstalk, the underdog doesn't just survive, but they come out on top at the end. Cinderella wins through kindness and grace, and Jack wins through cleverness and courage. These typical fairy tales don't just show characters always beating the odds. They show characters that challenge the idea that wealth, strength, or social status should determine who wins. The underdog trope continues to resonate with many people because it tells us something very important with a great message, that those who start with nothing can still end up with everything if they tend not to give up.